Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, and welcome to the first episode of Winter is Coming Wednesday for 2022. And I'm going to do some coloring of the driving by VW bug with the presents, and I'm going to then turn it into a Christmas card. So I haven't colored in a long time, and I thought I would go ahead and share a little bit about my coloring world. I have these swatches that I've done videos for in the past when I initially created them, and I've talked a lot about wanting lighter lights in the blends, and well, as long as they don't have the lighter lights in the blends, I will be using Copics. So I've got some blends to Copics combinations. I'm looking at the reds because I want to do a VW bug that is Christmas colored, and I'm going to use the real red to cherry cobbler color tones. So I see here where I've done real red, and I started with R20 and R22. I even see a really light R000 up here going into the Flirty Flamingo, so I have brought all three of those Copic markers out. And then I see that Lovely Lipstick, which is now retired, was attempting to make a lighter version of the Cherry Cobbler, and it's still really dark. So I think if I can use this range of color and use the Cherry Cobbler for my darks, that should be a good combination. And I wanted to show you just the Pure Blends colors. This is the light and dark Cherry Cobbler, and there is the light and dark Real Red. So you can see by this color palette that I need more lights to get the highlights. So I'm going to accomplish that with 3 additional Copic markers today. And what I have here is, you'll notice on my markers, you'll notice gold tape on them. This one doesn't have it because it must be a recent acquisition. And what I have is some washi, really skinny washi that I bought in a bundle from Amazon, like 48 rolls of all different colors, and these are, I pulled out all of the gold patterned ones, and I am going to wrap around this new R000, and that identifies it as mine, so that if you're ever crafting with people, if you have used your own washi to identify them as yours, then you can share your Copics and not worry about them being lost after commingling because you can't decide whose is whose. So always put washi on your markers. And I will probably go ahead and color sped up, and I may go back through again and make some comments on what I'm doing. I even stamped like a full sheet of these in case I am not happy with my initial coloring. I can go back through and do another one until I am satisfied. So there are many schools of thought on how to color with the alcohol markers. I like to do lights to darks, so I will be starting with the lightest color. I also recommend that you leave some areas white, though this is such a small stamp that I'm probably not going to worry about leaving any part of it white. The inks that I used are the dye inks, which you need to use, or if you use a StazOn, it is an alcohol-based ink, and though permanent, it will bleed. So I'm just going through, oops, keep opening the wrong end. Coloring stamped images goes pretty quickly because of the small size of the images, which is nice. Okay, this will be my last Copic. And when you color wet on wet, that's when you get more of the blended look than the lined or streaked look, depending on what you're after. Alright, so now we're going to use Real Red Light. I am using just a basic white 65 pound. So I have to be a little bit light. Like I'm not going really heavy with the inks at this point because I can only saturate this paper so much. It's not really intended for full-on Copic and alcohol coloring. So I'm being somewhat careful. And I brought, when I go to wanting to blend, I go to the backwards to the lighter colors and soften the edges with swirling is what I'm doing. And you'll notice that I see that they designed this stamp with the presents a little bit separated from the car. So I believe I'm going to, for my card, cut them separately. I'll do fussy cutting, and then I will pop up both layers independent of each other. I'll probably layer the presents a little bit lower onto the hood. I'm now going to skip the Real Red Dark, and I'm going to go with light Cherry Cobbler first to do some dark darks. Maybe do a couple of dabs of the dark Cherry Cobbler. I'm already seeing I'm going to do a little bit of chrome on the bumpers and in the hubcaps. And then the wheels will be gray to black. So I have light basic black, and I can choose smoky slate or gray granite, and let's use the cheat sheet here. A gray granite, I need to do a gray granite, so that's the color tone I want. It will go nicely into the basic black. They're of the same tone. So I'm going to start with the light smoky slate, which I need to go get. There it is. dark smoky slate. I'm gonna use the bullet nib side. The bullet nib is the skinny line and the brush nib is the fat line. And I am coloring by natural light, if you are curious. All right, so now I'm at the point where I need some lighter lights for the chrome, and I am going to go into my Copic N0, N2, which is N for neutral. And I am considering cutting out the windows with an X-Acto to have some of the scenery show through the window. That is my initial thought. All right, so I'm gonna go back in and do some blending. I see some dotting, and I'm not opposed to the dots. At this point, the ink has dried, so in order to get a good blend going again, I'll do some re-wetting. I'm using light Real Red right now. To hop back to the, oops, that's too light. I needed this one, which is R22. At this point, I'm being very careful because I'm worried about oversaturation of the cardstock, and I'm going for the little bit of the whimsical look, so if there's a little bit of like kind of a dotted effect, that is exactly what I am after. Going yet a little bit lighter. Sorry about the camera movement. That is Hub moving around. All right, I am quite happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the presents, which I need to get some markers out. Usually by the end of a coloring session, I have, you know, like 20 or 30 markers out. I do have some Target cardstock, DSP I should say, that I am playing with. It's Tidings of Christmas, which is in the annual catalog, so it is current. And that's why I picked going to the cherry cobbler color. And now I'll get some present colors going, probably in the greens. I'll do alternating green. There's looks like 4 presents, so I'll do green, red, green and see how that goes. So light, soft, succulent. And dark, soft, succulent. Then I will do all right, so that is my coloring to coordinate, as you can see, with the Tidings of Christmas paper. And now I'm gonna step away and do some fussy cutting. I won't torture you with that. I am not the best fussy cutter in the world. And then we will get to laying this out and putting a card together. All right, I'm back. I have finished fussy cutting, and before we get into the layout strategy, I wanted to give you 2 tips. First, using a non-alcohol black marker. I have the Mini Marvelous marker pen here. I prefer the brush end. You can buy these separate from the marker set, I believe. In a set, you get 2 to a set, and those will be on the supplies list. And what I like to do with my fussy cutting, which isn't the best, I like to edge everything in black. If you use the Blends black markers, it will end up bleeding onto your image, so I recommend any non-alcohol marker. So this is a dye-based marker, and they also do come in all of these Stampin' Up colors. And I just find this gives it a nice crisp look. I'm going to do that to the presents as well. I've already popped both of these elements up for showing you the layouts, and I'm doing this year a little bit different. I'm going to, when I work on a project with you, so it's not like a walkthrough, it's already finished, I'm going to try to do what I do with Paper Pumpkin, which is have a variety of ways that you could finish this card ready for you, and I'll take some photography and have a showcase at the end. I will definitely do it for the once a month. I'm going to be doing a monthly Winter is Coming January through June, and then when the fall catalog pre-release comes out, I will step it up to once a week. And when I'm doing it weekly, I might not have the time to do the various layouts, but for the monthly episodes, I will definitely come up with a variety of options for putting these focal elements on. So the next thing after the black marker trim, I feel that looks way better and more finished looking. I even see one more little bit under here that could be done. And then next, I love to use gel marker. This is not a Stampin' Up! Product. They've had gel pens off and on over the years. I bought a set of these. They are Jelly Roll, and I have different thicknesses from 0.05 through 10. And this is 0.08, so it's a fairly fat one. And I am going to add some little highlights. If I can. Make sure it's marking. This is a teeny tiny image to be adding highlights to, by the way. So if you don't feel like adding any highlights to your very small images, that's fine. So now I'm going to go ahead and add you can do dots, you can do dots and dashes, just whatever little bits of highlight feels right to you. It is going to show up better on the darker colors, of course. And I just think this adds a little touch of whimsy and adds a little sparkle. I believe, so I don't like the third dot here that was separated, so I went ahead and rubbed it off. It hadn't dried yet, so this does take a little bit to dry, so you want to be careful. So there's my little car with the gel pen accents, and then here's the present with just a couple little dots. Alright, so now for the final step of this, I have a variety of ways that this can be presented. So first off is just the really plain, like let's say you colored it on white. So I've just got a very simple, and I went ahead and did a quick Merry Christmas, and you could add a little red bow coloring the white with the cherry cobbler. So you could just add a bow, and that's the simplest layout option. I also do have a different sentiment that you could use. This is just a very cute sentiment. So the Merry Christmas sentiment comes from the annual catalog stamp set, Evergreen Elegance. The carryover product with 'Tis the Season is Christmas to Remember. So I am definitely trying to use products on these holiday cards that you can use right now. So 'Tis the Season can go anywhere, and it could be just a cute little, you could cut a mat and then put it on top of another layer of white, and it would look very cute. So now I'm going to add that extra layer. I cut a nice mat, a scalloped, from the Color and Contour bundle. And now it starts to look really cute. And this is a more whimsical look. And again, I'll take some photography. And now I'm going to start adding layers. we add a little more layering. And you can either, I did also a red, the cherry cobbler, 'tis the season. Since the car is stamped in black, you could also, instead of green or red, you could stamp the 'tis the season in black as well. And you can offset this and add the big Merry Christmas and start dressing it up. I was even thinking it would be really cute to have the car do a scene and have the car on the white, have these presents here, but also cut color and then cut out a couple of presents and have them falling, being left behind would be cute. And I have, now I'm going to add more layers and add some more color. So I did a bigger green mat. And instead of white, you could put the cute car on green. And have the 'tis the season in the center. I cut a cherry cobbler mat, a little bit bigger. Now we're starting to get kind of on the fancy side of things. This is the rose gold that's in the annual catalog, and I chose it over a regular gold because of the undertones of pink. And I think that you could look at the red 'tis the season, and there's yet another option, and then I have one totally out there, over the top, and I'll explain what I did. I have tidings. I am looking for it. Here it is. Tidings of Christmas. So you'll see some strips in this package, and that is from leftovers from a project that I did. I did some calendars. So I had a whole bunch of these strips. They're just under a half of an inch wide, and I went ahead and laid down a bunch of strips on cardstock. I put adhesive at the top so that the vertical strips were stuck down, and then I wove in between each layer horizontally until I finished a grid, kind of a patchwork look. And then I trimmed it all down. You can see on the back here that I had trimmed it and I needed to do some adjusting. So that was a lot of fun to make, and I then cut the evening evergreen for it to sit on. And then you can do a bunch of different fun things with this background to really dress up the card. I have, for trim, at this point, a thinner trim probably would be good if you're having this many mats. You could offset this up above, get some gold to put underneath, tie a nice bow, boom, done. Add some rhinestones or colored pearls, for instance. And then I want to take away all these layers now. I want to put the car and it's a little bit on the small side, so then I have this large Merry Christmas. And then I also have this bow. And because of this green, I had it flipped the other direction. Going to pretend it's adhered. Add the Merry Christmas. And then I was thinking this could be offset a little bit. And you'll notice I went ahead and had the presents on the little toward the back to fit on the scalloped. You could put them on the top as well. So those are all of the different ideas of layouts that you could use to put this together. Let me know what you think of this strategy, showing you a variety of different options. And I am not going to stick this all together right now. I may, in the next month, go ahead and make a decision and just quickly put together the final version of this card. And maybe I'll do that for the first 6 months. That's all I have for today. Leave your questions, comments, or suggestions here on my video or over on my blog. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.